When NAFTA transitioned to USMCA in 2020, it promised a new era for facilitating North American trade. The agreement included stricter rules of origin, stronger labor protections, and enhanced IP protection regulations. On paper, these changes were a means to boost regional competitiveness, but in practice, USMCA has become a double-edged sword, a framework that enables better trade, but also it's very complicating, especially as geopolitical tensions and new tariffs reshape supply chains. Let's start with the automotive industry, one of the most important stakeholders in USMCA. The agreement requires that 75% of a vehicle's content be made in North America, which is an increase from 62.5% under NAFTA, and mandates that 40 to 45% of auto parts be produced by workers earning at least $16 per hour. As you can see, these rules were designed to incentivize regional production, and early results are promising. US exports to Mexico and Canada have surged by 46% since USMCA took effect. And companies like Ford and GM reshored their operations, betting on North American integration. But the recent 2025 US tariff increases have thrown this progress into question. Under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or the IEEPA, the US imposed a 10% baseline tariff on almost all imports and reciprocal tariffs up to 50% on 57 countries. However, they exempted USMCA compliant goods. Now, this creates an interesting divide. Products meeting USMCA's rules flow tariff-free, while others face very steep penalties. For automakers, this means a razor-thin margin for error. So a single piece of non-compliant part, like a transmission or an engine core, can disqualify an entire vehicle from preferential treatment, which triggers a 25% tariff. For companies, this scenario would be like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. One moment, you're cruising smoothly, the next you're scrambling to fix a supply chain mess that could leave your product stuck in customs limbo, with the risk of tariff and lost market access threatening just-in-time delivery and cross-border operations.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the The Great Depression, passed the the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which raised or raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression.
Now, the message to corporations is clear. You should either deepen your North American footprint or pay the price. Firms are responding with nearshoring, which is relocating operations from Asia to Mexico or the US, and investing in USMCA-compliant warehousing to avoid duties. EP Logistics, for example, reports increasing demand for cross-border storage solutions or compliant warehousing that streamline customs compliance. But here's the catch. The US isn't just encouraging regional production, it's also actively pulling supply chains inwards towards itself. If you notice, there's no free trade in USMCA's title, and that's no accident. The agreement's 2026 review, which is going to be mandated in July, could further tilt the scales towards protectionism. Already, the administration's rhetoric frames trade deficits as a national security threat, echoing mercantilist principles. The recent tariffs on steel, aluminum, and critical minerals amplify this shift, which mean prioritizing domestic production over global efficiency. Now, what does this mean for industries? For automotive industries, stricter rules and tariffs are squeezing margins. Suppliers must now track every single component's origin and labor costs, which pushes them to relocate some factories to the US, mostly the Midwest. In the agricultural sector, cross-border food shipments rely on USMCA's tariff exemptions, but political disputes over dairy or seasonal produce can disrupt all of their supply chains. In the manufacturing sector, companies face a dilemma. They can either build another North American facility to ensure compliance or just pay the tariff shocks. Now, the stakes are high. RBC estimates that tariffs could slash US's GDP growth by about 0.5 to 1%, and it will lead to increasing inflation if sustained. However, for corporations, these calculations are shifting. Now, as Maersk advisor put it, the cost of not nearshoring now outweighs the cost of staying global. So, where does this leave us? USMCA was never just about trade. It's a geopolitical tool that is very critical to business-government relations to counter China and reclaim industrial sovereignty. Now, the 2026 review will test whether North America can balance competitiveness with protectionism. For corporations, the path forward is a little bit scary but clear. You need to adapt to USMCA's rules and leverage its exemptions, and also prepare for a future where trade policy is as volatile as the markets themselves.